Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the latest game in the long-running Shin Megami Tensei series, Soul Hackers 2, Come On Down. The first Soul Hackers game was originally released in Japan way back in 1997 and then finally ported to the 3DS for Western audiences in 2013. I never had a chance to play the original, but that's fine because Soul Hackers 2 does not require any previous knowledge. So, what can you expect from this game? You can expect another SMT game that plays it very safe. If you're a fan of this series, then you will feel right at home here. Before we get into it, if you liked this review, it would help me out a lot to hit like and also sub for more JRPG content coming soon. I'd also like to thank the publishers for the review code, and all the footage you see here is from the PS5 version of the game. Alright, let's get into it. Soul Hackers 2 follows the journey of Ringo and Fig, two super AI beings created by Ion, who is a sentient existence that transcends human intelligence, kind of like myself. They are sent to the human world to prevent a cataclysmic event that is predicted to bring an end to the world. The two soon learn that a mysterious enemy seeks to obtain 5 covenants to summon the Great One, who isn't exactly going to do great things to the world. The story does a good enough job to drive the game to its end, and I was kept interested throughout my 40-hour journey. There is a few twists here and there with several awesome scenes, but don't expect anything mind-blowing. I did like the characters though. They all come from very different backgrounds and have their own motivations for joining the party. The designs were also really cool, with Ringo and Fig, for instance, having a digital-like appearance to their clothing. Now, you could play through the entire game without learning much about these characters at all, but if you really want to learn about who they are, you can dive into their souls via the Soul Matrix. This is basically one large, semi-optional dungeon with boss fights and key character-specific scenes sprinkled throughout. Progression through this is unlocked through increasing a character's soul level, which can be raised by hanging with them at the bar or selecting specific dialogue choices through the game. While most of this is optional, you are going to want to do it, if not just to learn more about the characters, but also to get stronger, because some character abilities can only be unlocked here. Soul Hackers 2 takes place in a Japanese city and requires lots of fast traveling around the different city locations and in and out of dungeons. And by fast, I mean slow as For the first 30 hours, I was sitting on my couch in frustration, wondering why there were so many load screens on my PS5. I mean, the fact that you have to fast travel out of a dungeon to heal, then back again was bad enough, but having to wait 5 to 10 seconds every time was infuriating. But then I read a handy little message on a forum that informed me that turning off tooltips in the settings will eliminate all loading screens. Okay, seriously, this is the worst design choice I've encountered in a long time. Who in their right mind would choose to have a load screen every time they fast traveled? What's next? Optional game crashes? For those of you not currently in my computer room, that was the sound of my palm smacking against my face. And this is the experience of having a load screen just because I don't understand my audience. Putting the load screens aside, the rest of the game is very well presented. The visuals and art style look great, the voice acting is decent, and the soundtrack has some pretty great tracks, even if there are some themes that are used way too frequently. But then there's the dungeon design. Here lies one of my biggest criticisms of Soul Hackers 2. They all look and feel so generic. Most of them are just full of right-angle turns, with each room looking the exact same as the last. Early in the game, you have to work your way through an abandoned subway. A few hours later, you're introduced to the next dungeon, another abandoned subway. The Soul Matrix is much the same, with each level looking the same as the last. For a game with such a focus on dungeon exploration, you'd think that the dungeon design would have been a priority. To be fair, crawling your way through the dungeons, battling enemies, and collecting items for upgrades is a lot of fun. You can see the enemies on the map who randomly appear in front of you and chase you down because they're jerks. They are, however, pretty easy to run away from or slash to the ground with your sword. Something I hated is that every enemy appears as a digital looking lifeform thingy and does not resemble the demons whatsoever. Why can't they actually take the shape of the demon to give you an indication of who you want to avoid or take on? I put that question to the guy that decided we would love to experience loading screens. When you enter a dungeon, your demon allies will do some recon and scatter all around the place. Upon talking to them, they'll give you items, heal you, or perhaps introduce you to other demons that you can recruit if you meet certain conditions. Despite my issues with the dungeon design, the gameplay loop of trekking through the dungeon for items and new demons and returning to upgrade does do more than enough to keep you playing to the end. Now, let's jump into the turn-based battle system. The mechanics here are solid, and I really did enjoy my time battling against demon after demon, but it really doesn't do anything you haven't seen before. Like any good SMT game, it is all about exploiting weaknesses. When you encounter an enemy for the first time, you won't know their weakness, so you have to experiment with different elements until you find it. Something that I hated is that in the boss fights when you encounter an enemy that you've previously battled, their weaknesses are for some reason hidden. This is just stupid. The game should reward you for having discovered this information previously, but instead you're doing it all again. The core battle system is very simple, but there are a couple of additions that give Soul Hackers 2 a unique flair. Firstly is the Sabbath system. Through exploiting enemy weaknesses, you can stack your demons, resulting in a powerful attack at the end of the turn. Some demons also have skills to enhance these Sabbath attacks by providing additional benefits such as poisoning enemies. This simple mechanic works well, and it is always a great feeling to unleash a huge stack of demons for massive damage. I did however find it strange that your opponents don't get additional benefits from exploiting your weaknesses, or that there's no additional penalty for striking an enemy's strengths. When compared to other SMT games, this means that there's a lot less risk and overall gave me a lot less to think about. The only other notable feature is Ringo's commander abilities, which work on a cooldown. For instance, you can use the conversion skill once per turn to change out an ally's equipped demon. This is something that you'll be using all the time. Another example is damage condenser, which can be used every 4 turns. This skill narrows Sabbath to a single target to increase its power. Using these at the right time is crucial, as in addition to the cooldowns, you can only use one of these per turn. There are quite a few ways to increase the strength of your party, so let's start with the demons. One demon can be equipped to a character at a time, and these can be swapped freely outside of battle or within limitations during battle. Your stock of demons can then be fused together to create more powerful demons, provided you meet the level requirements. When fused together, you'll be able to select some skills to carry over, and this requires quite a lot of consideration. On one hand, you're going to want the strongest demons, but on the other hand, you're going to need a range of demons with different elemental attacks to give you flexibility in battle. If you've played previous SMT games, there really isn't anything new here, and this includes the actual demon designs themselves. I've seen most of them before many times and definitely wanted more variation in this area. Something that does not work well with this demon system is the equipable items called mystiques. These can be attached to characters to provide a range of benefits, such as increasing their elemental attack power or to reduce MP costs when using a particular element. The problem is that this game is designed to have you chop and change your current demon a lot, but when you do, chances are that your currently equipped mystique will not match the demon's attack types. As a result, I rarely put much thought into which mystiques I had equipped. Finally, each character also has a comp, which is a weapon that basically lets them communicate with demons. This can be upgraded with your hard-earned cash and materials you receive in dungeons. There are loads of upgrades here, but I was never really torn between which upgrade to choose. It was more a matter of just upgrading everything I currently had the materials for. And that, my friends, is what you can expect from Soul Hackers 2. The game that is quite a lot of fun but doesn't do anything to stand out from other SMT games or modern JRPGs for that matter. Soul Hackers 2 looks great and has some really cool character designs. In fact, the characters themselves are quite interesting, and the game allows you to learn quite a lot about them if you choose to. Unfortunately, the praise for the game's design stops right at the dungeons. They look bland and have very little variation. The combat combat is the other shining light of Soul Hackers 2. This turn-based system is fun and requires a decent amount of strategy, even if there is nothing really innovative here, which can also be said about the game as a whole. Another special mention needs to go to one of the worst design choices, the loading screens, which are actually an option rather than a necessity. You're going to want to turn these off ASAP. Soul Hackers 2 is a fun experience and a solid SMT title. If you're a fan of the series, you'll probably find a lot of enjoyment here. Just don't expect anything to blow your mind. Have you played Soul Hackers 2 yet? What did you think? Let me know in the comments below. This was Hellfire RPGs. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, hit like and sub for more RPG content coming soon. See you next time.